I think to be in a relationship, I think everything works if like you got to allow yourself to be with somebody. I don't know how to say it. I don't really know how to say
Is it one of those
like
things where it's like you
it
have
builds so much character to
sure, but it's like one of those things where like oh, your heart has to be open to receive love or something like that.
well,
Some like hippy
you
dippy
say you
shit.
don't eat meat for moral reasons, but you
Yeah.
bang porn stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand how the two equate.
Well, because in that okay, so we're going there. Okay. So
I'm just curious.
with the vegan thing, the vegan thing is I'm not harming other living entities, living, beings.
You're not.
Well, not in my consumption of my meals.
You're just so far removed from what from the agriculture and how many other animals die to harvest things like vegetables
Talk
and
about that.
fruit and things like that, like woodchucks and I've been on farms. I grew up working on farms.
What I'm saying is
Little small rabbits and vermin
sure.
and like entire ecosystems get entirely imbalanced by monocrop agriculture where they're staking off a big piece of land saying no, we're going to grow this pepper, so all of this stuff that's normally would be here doesn't have to be here. So is it any better for the environment or any less animals? Actually, I think more are actually being harmed for that, what I think is nutritionally deficient,
Let me counter that statement in that with animal agriculture, it's much similar. Like with Amazon deforestation in order to create um, places for cows to
Okay, so
fucking
we agree. I agree with you on that. So
yes,
I think what we
absolutely
need is like free range. I'm about regenerative agriculture, right? We need more grasslands.
right.
We need more grass in the
You don't have to
there's
do a monocrop system though. I mean,
I understand, but like it doesn't matter. You're still what it takes to build those kind of systems in place to get vegetables still kill other animals no matter how you
no
slice it.
doubt, no doubt. I agree with you there. But what I'm saying is the grain that is used uh, to feed livestock clears out way more rainforest than does planting.
So I try not to eat grain-fed meat myself personally because I don't think it's better for us. I think so that's a conversation I think that should be had, but I think the conversation that goes from vegan to meat, is a distraction from that regenerative agriculture.
I'm not saying the quality of the meat as far as like the grain is concerned. I'm just saying the actual process of stripping the rainforest in order.
I totally agree with
Okay,
you.
okay, so
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like I totally agree with you. We shouldn't
right.
be promoting that like a further deeper into that because it is more harmful. But I think the most sustainable is local, is as primal as possible. An animal eating grass, you know, like that to me is how I mean, look at how much food there is on like buffalo and like these things used to be prominent all over our country.
They did until we, misused them essentially.
$100%.
Not utilizing them for their full capacity. Um, but back to the nutritional deficiency thing that you were saying. In what way do you feel that?
Because all humans are meant to like cholesterol, these things, fat, animal fats, saturated fats, they're part of what makes us human.
Right.
Our consumption of these things are how we thrive. Can you survive by not having them? Sure. What kind of life do you want to live? Like people have so many ailments. I see so many people, so many vegans that continue going down this path
Right.
where they're just and they're screaming to the heavens about these different ailments, these different autoimmune deficiencies, these different like psoriasis and all this other stuff that's going on with them, and they refuse to come off the vegan. And a lot of times, if the ones that do, they take a bite of food and they realize what they're actually missing.
No.
It happens so much, bro.
Uh,
You just don't see that
I'm not gonna
propaganda.
say. Look, I'm not gonna
You
say
see
meat.
different propaganda.
I'm not gonna say meat doesn't taste good. I almost consider myself like
I
a,
think
a
it's
like a meat and
necessary.
potatoes vegan, but I didn't quit eating meat for um because I didn't like the taste. I did for ethical reasons. And
Right.
I'm perfectly okay. Like some people are like, you got mock meats and stuff. what's the difference, you know? And I'm like, well,
A lot of
yeah,
differences.
a
Got
lot of
fucking
difference.
neurotoxin canola oil in it. It's got all these different bullshit
But again, like,
ingredients.
we're talking about like the meat and stuff, the quality of the meat, like, you got so many antibiotics in it. And I'll pose this question to you, like, why do physicians, when you have like cardio vascular problems and heart problems and things like that, why do they always prescribe a vegan diet? They do
Well,
that.
because they're still living in a saturated fat is bad mentality that started with Ansel Keys when he lied to the country and said and to the government and said that there was a correlation in his 7 country study between saturated fat consumption and heart disease.
Right.
And then that was used. This man and his research and his study was used to basically spark a movement that was lifted by companies like Kellogg's and all these other companies that wanted to sell this cheap grain that they had sitting in the middle of the country. And also sugar. The sugar industry is a big reason that we have the problems we have today because we put
Absolutely.
sugar in everything. So the low fat movement based on Ansel Keys' faulty study, because we found out later he actually, when some documents got declassified, they found out he actually studied, I believe it was 22 countries, and there was no correlation between heart disease and saturated fat consumption in those countries. So
But they have reversed some of the effects of heart disease through the use of a vegan
okay,
food.
so anybody you take off of the standard American diet is good. So I'm all for if what you eat is box food and chemical produced nasty fucking fast food all the time, and you're gonna go from that to a whole food plant-based diet, clearly you're gonna do good compared
Yeah,
to how you were doing. You're
absolutely.
gonna lose weight, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna probably reverse some metabolic dysfunction
Right.
over the long term. I think to truly thrive by not adding back meat products at some point, you're going to suffer.
But again, in what way though? Because
Either
you and
way,
I,
a lot of it comes down to gut bacteria, right?
right?
Are you familiar with the GAPS protocol?
I'm not.
The GAP diet is the gut and psychology, and then she's got a book, The Gut and Physiology diet. It's all about treating your gut and like our gut is like a little it's like our
Ecosystem.
second brain too, so it like has a direct impact on our mental health.
Right.
And when you see a lot of things going on in society, you got to wonder what's going on nutritionally. What are people eating,
Yeah.
right? It's all sugar,
You ever been
really.
to Europe?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dude, the
I've been
food
to,
tastes
it
different.
tastes different. They eat differently there. they eat they eat less quantities, they eat higher quality, and they fast more too.
I'm not debating that the quality of the food here isn't shit and that, you know, um, most Americans, vegans included, will eat a shit diet. I've slowly begun to kind of, work on the nutrition aspects of it. Been working with Don Foos on that. Thanks for the recommends. He,
I still love you, Don.
Don, Dayal Nitai Das, Hare
Thanks, Don.
Krishna. Um, yeah, my family had a history of blood disorders and things like that. So, what I think the correlation is, and there are counter methods and products to be able to do, you're talking about gut health, I do a lot of kombucha,
Yeah,
you know,
fermented foods in general are really good for your gut.
absolutely,
That's part of the protocol with the GAPS diet. But it starts with meat stocks.
kombucha has a high concentration of B12, and I also take B12 supplements. And I've been doing it for 10 years. And when I did a study at, where was it? UCLA. And they were like, your heart rate is amazing, like your blood pressure is so low. I don't know if it's now because I picked up the vape again, but they were commenting on that at the time. They said, "What's your secret?" And I was like, "I haven't eaten meat in over a decade," and like they were like, "Wow,"
See, I have
So
those same reactions, and I haven't eaten a vegetable in 4.5 years.
and I'm not saying that you can't be healthy on a meat-based diet. Like obviously if you get like what is it, free range shit or whatever.
Oh, like grass fed, free range. I mean,
Right.
some of those terms you have to really get critically thinking into
Right.
because they become marketing terms, and you want to really source your food better than that, even.
And I can't hate on people that you know uh hunt for food, because there is an aspect to that where in the Vedas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, okay, if you wanna eat meat, go out and kill it with your bare hands like that. Now, granted, hunting is not your bare hands, but it's like, at least you know, um, you're going to be able to eat for a while for sure. Like if you shoot, even if you shoot like a deer or an elk or something like that, and it's going to be infinitely better for you, you know, unless there's some sort of like trichinosis in it or something. I don't know what do deer get, like some sort of weird shit.
Oh.
So I can respect that level of it. I just I just think it's wrong, like I think it's just wrong to kill an animal for sustenance when we live in an era where we don't have to, and especially when,
I still don't. I disagree with you that we don't have to kill something for our food. With everything comes sacrifice.
again, I don't doubt it,
Everybody
but
feeds life on some level.
sure, but at the same time, why be the purveyor of that? Why incur and I'm looking at this from a spiritual perspective, from like, Christian consciousness perspective. Why be the purveyor of that karma and that like the
I think
killing?
you're because I think you're honoring the animal. Because I think you're absorbing the animal. Your transference of life. Nobody loves a frigging cow more than the rancher, bro. Like meet some of those ranchers at those like ethical places where these food come from. They love those animals, and that does translate into an energy, and that is their purpose is to give life. Just like the animals that they eat and like other animals eat like each other, like it's a transference of energy. It's one that we can't avoid.
One thing that I was going to say though was that the earliest civilizations in the world, in the Indus River Valley, were non-meat eaters. They were vegetarians.
That is actually debatable from what I understand.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why though?
I think it's debatable. I'm not an expert on the topic, but I've heard peripherally because I do, follow this stuff.
Sure.
That what was that based on, like bioavailability or something? Like it's not as cut and dry as they
Wait,
make it seem. Like they tend to glorify, even in the Vedic tradition. Like they were actually before the writings got kind of subverted in a lot of ways. From what I understand, they were actually advocating for mostly meat diets. I'm gonna
Uh,
send you a link later.
okay,
I'm gonna
okay,
send you a link because it's an interesting conversation and it does raise everything gets subverted, right? Like there was a time, I mean, what did hunters and gatherers do? They fasted a lot and they feasted on animals and they ate every piece of the animal.
that's true.
That's absolutely when we were as a species thriving on 2 feet, bipedals, running around in very good metabolic health, right? And
Okay.
if that's our goal to you go that paleo route. Like I love when anybody tells me they go paleo. I go, okay, you're really exploring now. You're really exploring something that makes sense because I think how our ancestors lived matters a lot
It would be really interesting to
and how
look.
they thrive, the ones that thrived.
Right. It would be really interesting to take a look at previous generations of Americans and compare like their health statistics, like back then based on how
Well,
they
you
are
think
now.
about the 60s, right? You see pictures of people in the 60s, big groups of people at like Walt Disneyland or whatever. Like there's never any fat people in those pictures.
No.
Like it's not and there's a few different things I think people were doing back then. They were eating lard, they were cooking with it, they were using like butter, right? You didn't I think that the introduction of vegetable oil is probably one of the most destructive things on humanity ever. And it's everywhere. And it's
Every vegetable
every
oil?
yeah, I think vegetable oil though, like canola oil in
Canola is the
general,
worst.
right? Like that is the stuff that's most frequently used, right? I think that was the
Yeah.
beginning of the severe weight gain and all that stuff. But
It's pure
also
shit.
like it correlates. You can see it directly on a graph. As soon as the government started telling us how we were supposed to eat and gave us a pyramid for food, we started to get more unhealthy. Diabetes skyrockets.
Yeah.
Obesity skyrockets. And then what are they also telling us? Eat 6 times a day. Never let yourself get hungry. We used to eat 3 times a day. You maybe have a snack in the middle of the day. People would stop eating at like 7 o'clock at night
Yeah.
and then not eat again until they got up. So you're looking at a fast of 12 hours a day for
Yeah.
most people.
Essentially.
Nobody does that anymore. Nobody goes to bed hungry. People are constantly eating, and we're eating this
I do.
processed shit that is designed to store fat and make us hungrier. That's
Uh,
what this processed food and all the nonsense, different variations of sugar that's in it.
that's
And look,
really
it
interesting.
started with the low fat movement. The low fat movement was what got us here with all this sugar and everything.
But the low fat movement is not does not have anything to do with like the vegans because
Oh no, but it was the beginning of the messaging from the authorities and the corporations that stand to profit off of it, right? That led
yeah,
us down this path to where we're sitting here going plant-based diet, and now everybody just wants to go plant-based, and plant-based now just means stuff that's made in a factory. So like
yeah.
it's lost its original meaning,
Oh,
right?
the word plant-based has been like
The-
misconstrued. It doesn't mean vegan necessarily.
no,
I've been to so many places that are like, we have plant-based stuff, and I'm like, what does that mean?
what
Because
does it mean? Yeah,
yeah, like it's so nebulous as far as like, it
it's
could,
marketing.
right, it could have like a Beyond Patty and like an Impossible fucking or Beyond or Impossible and then like cheese, regular cheese, dairy cheese.
Hydrogenated oil.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the problem with all the food that we get everywhere we go. So one of the things I don't do is I don't eat out. Very rarely do I eat out. I make my own steak at home. I get it from the
S-
butcher
So
shop.
many good restaurants in LA though.
Yeah, but like I'm also big in the spirituality component. I'm big into like the energy of the preparedness of my
I will
food.
agree with you of that
I don't
as
want some
well.
dude who hates his job, that's arguing with his girl via text right now, sitting back there forced to make my shit, like putting
Yeah.
that kind of energy into my food. I don't know what kind of energy is going into it.
Yeah,
It's really just a transactional thing at that point, right?
sure.
My wife and I have a few spots we go. We know where they source their food. I live in Orange County. I go. They have places in Laguna Beach right on the
Well,
water. I like to go.
and to speak of the energy that is around a food, that's kind of where I'm going with the veganism aspect, and that you look at it from the spiritual angle, like there can't be like that animal's dying in terror, like that
Yeah,
can't
I don't think that they see it the same way.
the animals or
No, I don't think that the spirits see it that way. I don't think the source sees it that way. I think that they're there for our life. Like it's a cycle.
but
I think that you're putting human emotions to an experience like it's almost like anamorphism.
no, because again, I've also done much research, and there's much data that would support, you know, a
What are we
vegan.
so afraid of dying for?
What am I afraid of?
Well, for anybody, why is anybody afraid of dying?
Oh,
It's just like this morbidity around death. Like it's these animals are gonna die. What else are they gonna do? Live forever? Like
no, but I mean, at the same time, it's like you know. Mm, I don't know how to describe it, man. Like there is a transference of energy when you kill an animal. There has to be, and so that energy, like you said, when it comes into the actual preparation of the food, I mean, you don't get that with a vegetable. Vegetables, yes, they're alive, but
they are alive. They
there's
have
a lower
they have
level of
defense mechanisms
there's
too.
a lower level of sentience within a plant, which is why the Vedas will mention about it, saying that, yes, you incur karma for eating plants, right? Like you were saying with the
I
ecosystem and
think you do. I
whatnot.
think people have autoimmune dysfunction and hormonal issues because of a lot of the plants that they eat that have anti-nutrients and lectins and different things that actually disrupt our digestive system and our microbiome in a big way that we don't even take into any
But
consideration for.
lecithins are required.
Oh, yeah, but there can be, I mean, just many things are required in our system when we
Sure.
consume them and they interact with things in different ways. I mean, our body's so complex.
That's
I
where
think plants,
milk has lecithin. Like dairy milk has, and
lecithin?
isn't that how it's
I
pronounced?
said lectin.
Lectin?
Yeah,
Whatever.
different lectins. They're different
You know what I'm talking about.
anti-nutrients or like
Yeah.
neurodisruptors. In some cases, they affect our stomach issues and the different bacteria we have in our gut. The fiber and overconsumption of fiber can actually clog you up. It does the opposite of what they say fiber is supposed to do.
So, would you ever consider a medium like a vegetarian diet? Because think about it like
I mean,
this.
if I fully am healed at some point, like, and feel that I want to reintroduce things like I've been carnivore for 4.5 years. To me, it's an elimination diet. So I have
What
experimented
were you
with
before
different
that?
things.
Oh, you were
I was keto before that. I've
keto.
never been
Okay.
vegan.
Oh, okay. Never
I was a
vegetarian.
fat slob before that. I'm down 110 pounds. I'm down, I've reversed type 2 diabetes.
Yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
reversed gout. I've done a bunch of different things
That's
to
good, dude.
to change my metabolic health
Yeah.
through a meat only diet.
Mm. That's debatable, man. Like I
A
said,
lot of people are doing it, and
I
it's
don't
fun to
doubt it.
watch,
I
and a
mean,
lot of people are thriving.
it it would be interesting to have John Joseph on here again, and then
Oh, I'd
like
love it.
Don Foose, and like we could have a veganism debate, and
I'll bring Sean Baker and Paul Saldino, and we'll have a good time. Let's do it.
let's do it. I mean, if
I'll
you
have to
guys
reach
are,
out to those people and see.
I'll bring John and Don in my corner, and then we can have like a big round table discussion.
In the end, what it's really about is what works for you, right? Like, and that to me is like the cornerstone and the foundation of all my spiritual and the way I live is about taking responsibility for that, right? Like,
Sure,
not giving up your power because you have the power to heal yourself. So I healed myself through a meat only diet. You know, I think we're all bio individual, right? Like, I think sometimes where our ancestors came from, what was bioavailable to them in those days, are what we're gonna thrive on today, right? Like
sure.
as humans, right? So there's just a lot of nuance there and a lot of different factors. I do think everybody should eat meat if they want to thrive. Can you survive without it? Probably, but you might break your bones easier. You might be anemic. You might have different autoimmune disorders, and you might have to deal with that stuff down the line. People
Mm,
are breaking their bones a lot worse when their bones are much more brittle when they're on a long term elimination of meat diets.
mm.
That's what I that's my but do you, bro? I don't care. Like,
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been doing a meat-free diet.
it's another reason my vegans, they want to tell everybody what to do.
You know, and I look, well, no, I don't see. I don't give a shit. Like I usually I'm not the PETA type obnoxious vegan. You know, like that. A lot of those motherfuckers exist out in the world, and you know, while I feel like they bring awareness, they also piss a lot of people off. You know,
Oh
and
yeah, for
I
sure.
don't think that's the way to do it. And I sell vegan swag, and I'm I don't know if this is uh helping, but
You need to
you
do
know,
some
it's
carnivore swag. Like, you should start selling some leather goods or something.
Oh yeah, 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 something. I mean, you know, it's just it's great to be able to you know, have these sort of discussions.